Izmir 7 times, in Antalya almost 15 times, and then the Istanbul maybe 40 times. Kars, next week I will go Salonu'nda.
Dear Dean, dear Mr. Ambassador, dear professors, distinguished guests, and dear friends, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this high-level conference on Korea-Turkey relations, past, present, and future, hosted by Ege University Strategic Research Center and Turkish Academy of Science. We would like to thank especially Turkish Academy of Science and Korean Embassy, who has contributed to the organization and success of this conference. We are also grateful to the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Administrative Sciences and all the participants who have gathered here today for this vital event. We invite the Director of Ege University Research Center, Assistant Professor Dr. Sinem Kocamaz, to present her opening speech.
Dear Dean, dear Mr. Ambassador and dear Vice Dean, dear professors, dear distinguished guests and our students, of course, it's my pleasure to welcome to you to this high-level conference, the Korea-Turkey, past, present, and future. Really, it's an honor for us to host His Excellency here in our faculty. That we believe that this conference started a deep contribution process with our faculty and the South Korea. As you see that the basic notions inside the speech, the past, present, and the future parts, the historical binds and deep and the greatest binds between Korea and Turkey is really a vital notion, vital point that we have to construct our future partnerships. Because all we know that we had long historical ties that maybe Professor Yurdusev will make some short explanations related with them and our ambassador at the same time. And also present part has vital importance as well, because we know that especially after 2008 economic crisis, whole world tries to make some economic blocks together, especially inside G20, and Korea is a partner of Turkey. I think that especially in terms of improving our economic relations, industrialization process, and find opportunities for new projects together, maybe. And to construct our relations in that framework, future part has vital importance as well, because we know that the regionalization started all over the world now. Securitization and security policies also gain importance, and whole world economies try to find a new way, new model to create some mega free trade economic blocks and deepen their consultation and contributions. So under this framework, I believe that this conference will be productive and beneficial for both parts, for our faculty, for our research center students, and also the South Korean Republic. So again, I want to say welcome and thank you to our ambassador. And also we are really grateful in terms of that contributions that Turkish academic science make great contributions to us. And I want to again say warmest welcome to His Excellency, and thank you for all participants that you participate in our conference. Thank you.
We thank the Director Sinem Kocamaz. We kindly invite Professor Nuri Yurdusev for his opening speech.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, Mr. Ambassador, This is probably the first academic conference we are having in Izmir, in Ege University. Turkish Academy of Sciences, we have two types of individual conferences in a sense. One is what we call university conferences. It's an activity jointly organized by TUBA, Turkish Academy of Sciences, and universities in Turkey. And to my knowledge, this year, two of our members, they have delivered a university conference in Ege University. But academic conferences, they are based in Ankara and Istanbul. They are monthly conferences. Each month we have an academic conference in Istanbul and one in Ankara. Ankara conferences, I organize them. And from time to time, we do academic conference outside Ankara. In the past, we did it in Tokat, in Çorum, Konya. And when we invited Ambassador CHO Yun-soo to give an academic conference, and when I told him that he could do it either in Ankara or do it outside Ankara, he chose Izmir. So thanks to him that we have academic conference in Ege University, and my good friend, the president of the university, Professor Dedeoğlu, she kindly agreed to host it. So I'm grateful to our colleagues in Ege University, in the faculty, the dean, and all our colleagues hosting this conference. And I'm sure it will contribute to you and to Turco-Korean relations as well. Before I invite Ambassador Yun-soo to deliver his speech, I would like to utter a few words about Turco-Korean relations, and I would like to also emphasize what good may come out of this conference, especially for you. I have been to Korea twice, and recently I've been to Seoul again in April as part of a joint symposium between Turkish Academy of Science and Korean Academy of Science and Technology, TUBA and KAST. We have close cooperation in Turkish Academy and Korean Academy, and we have different modalities of cooperation. One of them is exchange of scientists. One of them is we cooperate in multilateral forms in inter-academic organizations. And we also began to organize bilateral symposiums. We did the first symposium in Seoul, and we are going to do the second one in Turkey this year. And this year is special as well, because this year is the 16th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Turkey and Republic of Korea. So to commemorate this 16th anniversary, we thought that we should do two symposia. Actually, we were said that we thought that one is enough each year. But Ambassador Yun-soo, he did great effort. He made great effort to persuade us and Korean Academy to organize a second symposium. So we are going to organize a second symposium in Istanbul in September. Now back to Turco-Korean relations. Most of you, of course, familiar with Korea and Korean culture. Probably half of you have Samsung smartphones. You know other brands, companies, and Korea ambassador will speak in detail probably, and it's a success story, as you know, in terms of industrialization and technology. And Turkey and Korea have close cooperation in different fields, and in terms of direct investment, etc. Again, Ambassador will speak about them, I'm sure. But what I would like to tell you is that Turco-Korean relations and Turco-Korean cooperations have a long history. The first contacts between Turks and Koreans go back to ancient times, and serious contacts and cooperation took place between Göktürk Khanate and Koguryo Khanate. During the time of Göktürk period, Göktürk and Koguryo people, Koguryo Khanate in Korea, they had contacts and cooperated. They cooperated against China. They made a sort of alliance. And what is interesting, what I found interesting when I searched for it, Göktürk recognized Koguryo Koreans at equal footing with China. In other words, Göktürk considered themselves as one of the Khanate, Chinese is another one, and Koguryo is another one. So Göktürk recognized three Khanates. Chinese, they never recognized a second Khanate, as you know. For them, there is only one empire, one Khanate. So this is significant. Why? Because after Göktürks, to my knowledge, Turkish polities, they stopped using the title of Khanate because the title of Khanate was used either by Mongolians or by Chinese. And the Turkish polities, they recognize Mongolians as the Khanate. Even as recent as Selçukid period, Selçuks, they did not consider themselves as Khanate. Or Karahanis, they did not consider themselves as Khanates. Of course, retrospectively, nowadays we call them Karahanlar Hanlığı or Selçuk Hanlığı. They never considered themselves as Khanate. Why? Because Khanate was something belonged to Mongolians. Selçukid sultans, they recognized Mongolian empires as Khans. Except Ottomans, of course. Ottomans is the only exception. Ottomans recognized themselves, considered themselves as Khanate. So they did not consider themselves as subordinate to Mongolians, unlike Selçuks. So from Göktürk to Ottomans, we see that they used this title of Khanate. And what is interesting, as I would like to emphasize again, Göktürk considered Koguryo as Khanate. Probably, this is also something exception because Chinese never considered Koguryo as Khanate. So this is something for IR students, international relations students. Some of you study international relations, I know. It's a topic, it's a virgin area you may study. And the second interesting thing I come to know with my journeys and contacts with the Korean colleagues is that all of you know Turkish contribution to Korean War in 1950, from 1950 to 1953. And I'm sure some of you also know that Turkish military mission in Korea so far remains as an exception in terms of sending combat troops. After Korea, Turkey never sent combat troops to overseas missions, except Cyprus intervention and, of course, near-border operations. For example, in Afghanistan, in Bosnia, in Somalia, Turkish troops, they fulfilled just peacekeeping. They are peacekeeping troops, not combat troops. So, Korean mission remains as an exception. So, this is also some of you know. But what I learned is Turkish soldiers, when they fought in Korea, side by side Korean soldiers, they called their Korean colleagues as brothers. this is something really exceptional. Because historically, in what we see, Turkish army, Turkish soldiers, they considered brother only other fellow Muslim soldiers. They never considered non-Muslims as brother, except Koreans. For example, in Crimean War in 1853-1856, Turkish soldiers fought against Russian side by side, British and French. But they did not call British and French as brothers. Or in First World War, Turkish soldiers fought against allies together with Germans. But they never called Germans as brothers, even if they are defending their homeland. So this is something also to be searched for. Some of you, IR students, may do about a research, and I think this could be an interesting dissertation topic. Having said this, back to this conference, our speaker is Ambassador Yun-soo. Let me, before I invite him, of course, I told you that I'm going to mention what could may come out of this conference. Ambassador, he's a very supportive person. He's a likable man, as you see, and a very supportive person. So after the conference, you will catch him and ask him how you can go and study in Korea, for example. So he will support you, I'm sure. So the good may come out of this conference. Now, let me briefly introduce our speaker. He's an economist. His first degree, master's degree, and PhD degree, they are all done in economics. So I told in the beginning of my speech, Mr. Ambassador, so it was a mistake. He is Dr. Ambassador. And he's been to various posts. He worked in United States, Singapore, Germany, and Russia. And this is Turkish embassy in Ankara, his last post. I'm not sure whether I'm right, and this is your first ambassadorial post. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is also something you see. He worked in Korean Foreign Ministry in different levels, and his first ambassadorial post is in Ankara, and first academic conference is Izmir. So I would like to invite our dear speaker, Ambassador Yun-soo. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Mehmet Nuri. Can you hear me? No problem? It's okay. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful chance. I'm the Korean ambassador. I'm very happy to visit again Izmir. Maybe this one is 7th times. I'm very comfortable and enjoyable. 2 years ago, the chairman of Izmir Chamber of Commerce requested and recommended our ambassadors, all the ambassadors, to enjoy Izmir with fresh air and very strong sunshine. I really wanted to come back again and again. This is 7th time, so I'm very happy, and thank you very much to invite me. Today, I will discuss with you these topics, Korea-Turkey past, present, and future. And mainly, I will start with some of the common features of our two countries. Surely, I will discuss on as well some differences, and as well as some of the changing the world environment. My point today is that based on this kind of relations, on how to enhance, how to increase our two country relations in the coming years. That is my topic. And then before I start, may I ask you very simple questions. That is, What is coming up to your mind when you're thinking of Korea? What strikes to you first when you're thinking of Korea? What?
Economic success.
Economic success. Thank you. Yes?
My grandfather was Korean, Victory Korea.
Victory Korea. Thank you.
19 years.
52. 52. Okay. The other one? Okay.
Nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons of North Korea. They're very smart. Some other student? Okay.
Of course, technology and open market policy.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. We have this kind of impression on Korea like this, on South and North Korea. For me, before I arrived here as an ambassador, I have some idea of your countries. Two things come up to my mind first. First one is Atatürk. I will explain later. The second one is your soldiers, young soldiers, Korean War veterans. But after 2.5 years experience as ambassador, I have different impression. That is, I'm traveling more than 30 provinces. Maybe, as I said here, in Izmir 7 times, in Antalya almost 15 times, and then the Istanbul maybe 40 times. Kars, next week I will go Sanurfa. And I really enjoy your countries. Whenever I visit your provinces, I envy you, your people. Very Westfield, great land, and also very important, located in very important places. As you see later, South Korea is very small and then far east side. So therefore, after then, I recognize great potential of your country. And that is in the future, so your responsibility to develop, to cultivate that some of the potentials. That is today's topic is that how to cooperate these potentials between our two countries. You see, I will start the slide 1. This is contains 2 pictures. This one, first one is the capital city features, Seoul in 1950s. The richest places at that time, totally destroyed in 1950. There is nothing. As you see, and the small stream, there is a very shape, the houses were fat. That is the 1950s. But 5 decades later, Korea has changed very remarkably. The same places, high-rise building, and then very fresh water flowing every week, and then family members come here, enjoy and strolling. This is differences. We can see this difference is the graph. That is a kind, you can see the very sluggish one and the rising so rapidly. That is the shape of Korean. Maybe you did already heard of the Korean success story. I don't want to repeat this one here, but coming back to first slide again, what does it mean? As I said, Korea has the record very high the rate of the great success growth. The another lesson, what I want to tell you, even a country can be changeable within some specific span of time, right? Country has changed very drastically. How about ourselves, you student? You have future, you have potential. Your country has great potential. In case you invest some time and energy for your future, you can be a leader in the country and in the region and in the world. So I wanted to, whenever I talk the story, not just the country as it is, maybe we can apply to our life. So therefore, when I was in America, at that time, almost 10 years ago, some world was very cited. Have you heard 10,000 hours rule? Have you heard 10,000 hours rule? You can change your life. Great investment. Like in Korean proverb, there is 10 years even changing the shape of mountains. So I hope maybe you have the great potentials. In the 10 years later or 20 years later, I hope you want to be a specialist in your subject. And not only the leaders in Turkey, but also leaders in the region and in the world. Later, I will talk Ajir Sanjar. He was born in the very small town. Where was he born? Mardin, very small town. Have you heard Mr. Ban Ki-moon? Who is he? The former UN Secretary General, the Korean. Now the Koreans, the current the president of World Bank, Kim Yong. They are born before Korean War, when Korean War was very poor situation. They experienced Korean War, as you say. So you can be leader in the world. So I wanted to start with this slogan. You see this one. Korea is located in the Asian continent, very far right. Turkey is located far west, 8,000 kilometers away. But Koreans have very special feeling, special interest in Turkey. You see, 8,000 kilometers away. By plane, more than 10, 11 hours. Now, many Koreans are coming back to Turkey as tourists. 2 months ago, I took Turkish Airlines, fully booked with the Korean tourists. Even though last year was very slow because, as you know, some terrorist attack. But this year, coming back again. Many, many Koreans are coming. And more than 140 Korean major companies advanced are operating. And then 2 big size Korean Airways, we have 2 big airlines, like the Turkish airline, and are operating from Istanbul and Korea. Last year, there is no Chinese air, no Japanese air, no Thai airs, but only Korean airs. Last year, my businessmen are very concerned. I visited 3 times last year to Korea. At that time, only big jumbo jet, only 40, 50 passengers. They are very concerned. They are concerned of future business. But they stayed. Now more Koreans are coming, and hopefully the Turkish people are coming to Korea. Why Koreans have very strong interest into your country? Maybe very attractive country, definitely. Can I ask why Koreans have special feeling into Turkey? Can you have any idea why? Yes?
Historical background.
Pardon? Historical background, yes. 2. I will explain. It's right, the Korean War. You know, North Korea is very similar to Syria. You know very well about the situation of Syria, right? Syria from 1970 to Assad, 2 dictators have been ruling for more than 45 years. What happened to Syria now? Among 22 million citizens, 11 citizens are wandering around inside and outside of their countries, right? 3 million are living here. For almost 5 decades, Assad's family made the country very terrible. North Korea, as you mentioned, nuclear weapons. North Korean regimes start 1945. 3 Kims, 3 generations, 3 dictators have been ruling for more than 70 years. Now, North Korean citizens, because of poverty, because for the freedom, they are escaping their country like Syrian refugees. They are in the case of the Syria, maybe it's between Turkey and Syria, just one border. But this is divided. North Korean has to escape here, and then to come back to South Korea sometimes through the Southeast Asian countries. On average, it takes more than 1 hour to come to South Korea. They are very terrible situation. Then, what happened to our generation, our children's generation, unless there is some support of your Korean War veterans, your young Turkish soldiers who sacrificed themselves for the democracy, prosperity, and peace for very small, unknown country, South Korea. South Korea at that time was almost occupied. North Korean regime supported by Soviet Union and then China. But with your support, with your grandparents' support, Korea has survived. And then we may have made our country's 12th largest economy with the support of your young Turkish soldiers. Among them, 741 your soldiers has been killed. And among them, around 2,000 your soldiers were missing and injured. We Koreans, one by one, will never forget. We always appreciate to Turkish people. That is the best reason. In Ankara, there is Korean Park, where the killed soldiers were buried there. And then there are tourists coming to Ankara in order to pay tribute to Turkish soldiers who have saved us. So that is the reason, mainly the first reason why Koreans have come to here. The second one is that from the text, education is so important. From textbook, history and the geography books, we learned about your country. Not only Turkish soldiers in the Korean War, we learned about Atatürk. We learned about the Crimean War. We learned of Ottoman Empire, as well as Hittite civilizations, Trojan War. So in my generation, we really wanted to look forward to visiting to Turkey. Many times, the successful businessmen and the opinion leaders come to Turkey, and then because of the educational background. So education is so important. First one is a long history of contact between our two countries, back through starting in the year of 551. That is the reason. Already Professor Nuri has explained it. That is the reason. The other one is because of that reasons, we have very similar feelings and the way of life. For example, do you know the damnaya gel olur? Huh? We have exactly the same proverb. This is the pictures I learned when I was junior high school days. This is the Trojan horse, and do you know this one is the Hittite civilization? Because of that reason, we Koreans wanted to come to the historic site. You see, damnaya gel olur. Okay, ne ekersen onu biçersin. We have the exactly same some proverbs. We have very similar stories, as well as we have very similar the personalities. When I meet your people, very friendly, and then provide very strong hospitality to foreign guests, the outsiders. I really appreciate it. It's very similar to ours. How about? sometimes when I invited by the Turkish house, and they serve too much food. When I sort of finish some appetite, they are saying is they are bringing some more, the main dishes, too poor. We Korea was. And then you are always thinking about how others are thinking about you. Do you? You always how the other countries think about Turkey, how some people are thinking about you. It's a kind of faith-saving attitude. Is right? We did. And also, I don't know whether you agree or not, and I'm also a little hot-tempered, and the Turkish in general, a little hot-tempered. I don't know. We have very similarity. Because of that reason, our way of life, thinking is also very simple, very, very similar. When you're grown-ups, Beşiktaş, did you play the Beşiktaş? And some bocha we also use. And then, do you like mantı? We have almost same names, mandu. We have the same things. And then, what is the other thing? Do you like iskembe? Huh? When do you have iskembe? Every day? When you are tired, when you are drunken, and the next morning, we do have exactly the same. I enjoy iskembe, right? And then you are very religious, but open-minded, tolerant, and recognize other religions, we Koreans as well. Have we heard of the tooth headache?
It's a kind of food, especially in Anatolia. Is it true?
No, tooth headache. Food? Maybe I will check some I imported the terminology from your book of the culture. When your baby, the teeth of baby comes out first, right? You have some kind of ceremony, right, in front of desk, some the bread or something like that, and then when you take a pencils, in case pencils maybe later become academia like this. In our case, first anniversary of baby, we have doing exactly the same thing. So we have the same feeling, same customs, very, very similar. But we have to recognize some differences as well. I wanted to say, it is my observation, maybe not exact, because in your countries, very Western and then no need to go outside. Korea is very small, and the South Korea is the size 1/8 in terms of land size. And among them, 75% of the land are mountains. So we have very limited arable land. But in your case, you are very abundant. This morning, I did have the Turkish breakfast. It's full of vegetables or some bread, very nice. In Korea, it's not thinkable. So because of that reason, we have to go outside. So our Korea is the outward oriented. Maybe when you go to every places, you can meet the Korean businessman and the Korean student. They are very aggressive, they are very challenging, they are very competitive. The other one is that it's also my observation. Turkish people are very conservative in food. You love your food too much, all right? How about in Izmir, is there some international restaurant? Except the Italian or Chinese. But too small. In Ankara, almost none, all right? So I talked to your policymaker in order that Ankara become international city, have to open more international restaurants. Food is a type of culture, civilization. In order to taste other culture and civilization, maybe you can start. Sometimes I invited Turkish, the high-level officials. In the beginning, I prepared I prepared the Korean cuisine, and he never touched it. I was quite upset. Next time on, I'm preparing some bread, some kinds of at least one. But when Korean delegation is coming, I prepared Turkish cuisine, starting lentil soup, mercimek çorba, and the two followed was a börek or captain. Third one is the lebrek, and then the dessert, helva and dondurma, all right, and then Turkish tea and Turkish coffee. I introduced with Turkish wine at the beginning when I prepared French wine. And then because Korean delegates are very well accustomed to it, and then I prepared Turkish wine and with the story, Ararat Mountain, or some Gallipoli, some Çanakkale battle. There is some suave like this, Pamukkale. For each region, there is different wines, very good. And then I introduce your civilizations, your way of life to Koreans, to make known them Koreans. As well as this year, as I mentioned, we will celebrate 60th. We are now celebrating 60th anniversary. In July, I'm preparing very big event, inviting 30 some very well-known figures from scholar, academia, some the artists and the journalists. I will traveling from the Istanbul to Pergamon, Izmir, Selçuk, Pamukkale, or the Cappadocia, Çorum, and Hatyusha and Ankara, in order to make them known about your great country of Turkey, and I will have them write about your country. Likewise, you have to know, not just simply to Korea, you have to know more about the other countries. The other one is you have to understand the differences. Our decision-making process is changing. Not anymore top-down the decision-making process. In my case, as well as I'm always consult my colleagues, my junior diplomat, because they know much better than about the details. Some important issue, well, I decided, but I always consult, not top side. When I was a young diplomat, I faithfully implemented what my ambassadors, my seniors instruct me. Now it's different. So this is the difference of the Korean custom. I will shortly touch on some changing environment, 20th century and the 21st century. This one is the point of the former chairman of the World Bank and some of the scholars when I was in America. Actually, in 20th century, politically, so G20, so G2 countries, for example, United States and Soviet Union dominated first half of the 20th century. And the G7 countries, developed economy, produced almost 80% of GDP at the time. But now it's different. Now it's different, like Turkey, China, Korea, India, Brazil, they are coming up. For example, in dealing with global issues, regional issues, even G7 countries cannot solve it. For example, recently, ransomwares, have you heard of that? Cyber attack, right? As well as what is the terrorism and the refugee issues, climate change, Ebola, health issues, the nuclear weapon proliferations. It cannot be dealt by only some developed economy. G20 countries are cooperating. Among them, G20 the countries, among 5 countries, what it called the subgroups are cooperating very, very closely. Have we heard of MICTA? Not frontline, the student. Have we, among the G20 countries, there is some subgroups are cooperating. MICTA, M-I-K-T-A. I wanted to say, MICTA stands for country names, country initial. M stands for Mexico. I means Indonesia. K implies Korea. How about T? Turkey. A, Australia. This year, the Turkey is coordinating country. This year, Turkey will host the foreign ministers meeting and the speakers meeting, and then now in Istanbul, the small size meeting are taking place. You have some attention on the foreign relations as well. What is the information is very flooding, you know well. Have you heard of Industry 4.0? Yes? Have you heard, right? Do you know what are components of the Industry 4.0?
Technology.
Mm-hmm.
New growth, innovative growth.
Yes.
Yeah, Korea is one of the most important countries in this term.
Yes.
I'm so interested in this country as well.
Okay. I will add a little more. Actually, for last 6 months, Korea was very in the midst of the political turmoil because the Korean president was impeached. Last week, the new president has been elected. Even in the midst of the political turmoil, when I went to the visit to Korea, there is the international economic issues was one of the hottest agenda. There is a new wave of industrial revolution, which is taking place now. In most advanced economies are tackling this issue. But at the time, in Turkey as well as there is very sensitive political issues, referendum. I could refer to some newspapers and the articles. I cannot find many articles. Yes, definitely 1 or 2. But inside in Korea, even political issues were very, very sensitive. And then economic issues, very hotly discussed. Even during that time, our stock price has increased. And likewise, what is the Industrial Revolution 4.0? 3 elements. There is a digitalization. The second one is the connectivity. Sector by sector, connected. Third one is smart factory. So you have to attention not only the issues inside Turkey, but also some other important issues together, right? What is this mean? The world becomes uncertain, changing so rapidly. You have to adjust to it. And the uncertain, as well as there is some unpredictability of the Trump administration. Your generation will face to this new situation, all right? So what should we do next time? And then I will shortly comment on the Korean case, how to we cope with changing environment. Education, I don't want to say more, but we Korean, our parents, even our generation, spend much money on educational purpose, the investment on education. The second, I wanted to emphasize research and development. That is very, very important, relevant to education, university education. Usually, R&D is very important factors for Turkey. In the case of Korea, R&D portion of the GDP is now 4.27, the highest one. Korea is very small, medium-sized one. In order to compete other developed economies, R&D portion is number 1. How about Turkey? Turkey is the 1.06. Turkey is rising too. But Turkish R&D, the objective of GDP is in 2023, 3%. Korea as of today is 4.27%. But what is more important is which organization, who is the main driving force for R&D. There is a difference between Korea and Turkey. Korea is the private sector is leading. Next. Look at this one. Korea is the R&D is the initiated, prepared, implemented by the private sector. Private sector is they know much than government sector about some of the needs and the demand of the consumers like this. You know Samsung, the mobile phone, right? And the LG, Hyundai. There is at that time, only 30 years ago, Hyundai car was very shabby. Now in terms of price and quality, very competitive with research and development. So therefore, initiated, propelled, and implemented by private sector. So when I have some chance, and then had some chance to present in front of your businessmen, I'm emphasize this book. Rather than rely on government, private sector has to do some effort. I have many stories to tell you about some more incentive to given to private sectors. All right? And the other one is the trade. Trade means open the market, right? And then competitiveness. We have the competitiveness. And the good governance in the Korea always controlled and checked. This kind of 5 big elements combined together make Korea as it is. But still, we every day and night, we are having some of the structural reform. That is from agricultural society to light industry, heavy industry, knowledge-driven economy, ICT, and we are coping with Industrial Revolution 4.0. But the point is the technology-oriented development. We, Korea, also import most of the natural resources, which amount almost 170 billion US dollars. With this one, we remake with petrochemical product. In the case of Turkey import $60 billion of the natural resources, oil and gas. But I am saying to your people, with technology, you own the petrochemical products. So in this sense, your student, you have to develop new technology, incorporate new technology to make your country stronger and make and develop the potential. For example, I'm continuously go to the supermarket. Which toothpaste do you use? Which brand of toothpaste do you use? Maybe you use toothpaste. Which brand name do you use? Colgate, Sensodyne, Ipana, like this, Signal. Most of the items you import. We Koreans, exactly now your per capita income 10,000 US dollars. We did import that item, right? Now your item, that is 4 times more expensive than the Korean ones. Korean toothpaste, in terms of quality and the price, much, much better. We did import, but our businessmen, private sector developed our own technology. Not only importing, we are exporting. This is the critical, the point is the 10,000 US dollars. Now maybe ladies want to look for the beauties. Maybe you look for good cosmetics, right? My wife like, what is the, not Lancome, starting with E. 여기 A로 시작하는 뭐가 Estirodo, right? Because my wife get used to it. But nowadays, young generations use the Korean product because we Koreans produce very good quality of the cosmetics. Maybe you like Lancome, Estée Lauder, like this. But I'm saying to your people, you have to develop your own brand, right? Now that you heard about nuclear, some of the reactors, nuclear energies. Korea was developed with our own technology, and now we are exporting. almost same time, so you adopt your some selected cooperation with Russia, some the Russia with Sinop, and then at almost the same time, Korean company cooperate United Arab Emirates. They finish, they will operate soon. So the Korean companies are always very eager to meet the deadlines and develop new technology. So I'm saying to your people, that you have to develop your own technology. So I continue to say this one. Even though we Koreans also face some kinds of some oil crisis and the financial crisis, as well as the high income trap. Now it's the Korean per capita income, 27,000 US dollars. We, for 2 or 3 years, we didn't overcome some barrier of the 30,000. We also made many problems, but still Korea have some developed new technology. So today's message, I wanted to say, do you know that science and technology are the most reliable guides for everything in the world, for civilization, for life, and for success? Teachers are the one and the only saviors of the nation. Whose word is it? Whose sentence is this? That is some guidelines by Atatürk, who implemented very faithfully. Korea did, right? Science and technology is a very reliable guide for us. Education, teacher is really important for us. So when I met the rectors today, before I come to here, I asked me this kind of chance with your student from the education department. Why? They are future teachers. Teacher is very important. In Korea, all the people respect teachers. So these two, science and technology, and the teachers. So what I'm saying is, what should we cooperate? When I arrived here 2.5 years ago, many of the, almost all the opinion leaders, policymakers are talking about trade. I will just skip because of time limit. I wanted to receive some questions. I'm an economist as well. And almost everyone talking about trade, right? Trade is very important, in much favor for Korea. But we have to think some other element when you're talking or when you're reviewing some issues, not only trade. Trade is relevant investment and the technology, job opportunity, employment, and the tourism. I'm talking to, in case, because of the trade barrier, not develop any other factors, it's problem. But in the case of our two-country relations, trade is closely connected to investment. More Korean companies are coming. This year and last year, big investment, the advance to Turkey, with financial resources, with technology, as well as with sophisticated items, equipment, intermediary goods. So in case you just look at the trade, you can miss the other important factor. In terms of the tourism, many Koreans are coming. And employment, our companies are cooperating, working together, more than 15,000 Turkish employees. And the Korean technology is very well developed. And the financial resources, like this. We have to look at this one together. So therefore, for the last 2 years, I continue the importance of technology. Maybe you can do that by yourself, but sometimes you need partners. We also need partners. Then what is the very contrasting difference between our two sides? As I said, that is relevant to culture, the cultural aspect. That is your inward looking. Korea is outward looking. So we need some new technology, new support. We send our delegation to any country. Many Korean businessmen are coming. Why? They recognize some potentials of your countries. A young society, they look at the future. Many Korean delegations are coming. But unfortunately, very limited number of your people are coming to Korea, even though Korea is well advanced in terms of technology. So I'm saying to your businessmen or policymakers, I cannot bring all the companies or factories, research center here. Your side many times requests to bring as many delegations as possible. I'm doing, especially culture and history side, because Turkey is very competitive. In Turkey, there are many attractive historic sites, which we Koreans like. But in the economic side, Korea is more developed. And then in terms of technology, you have to send your delegation. So there is the point. We have to exchange more people, especially in the technology field. So what I'm saying is that we have to more cooperation in the field of technology. Even I'm talking to university cooperation, and even though I'm the economist, I emphasize IT or engineering cooperation, even in very small scale. I'm going to do with this kind of effort for Korean university as well as Ege University. So maybe it's what should we do? Either explain almost everything, and then, so I wanted to last week shortly touch on some competitiveness for students. I will skip the other one. That is relevant to technology. Advice for student competitiveness. What is the best one for you to be competitiveness, to be more competitive? What do you think? There is no the right answer. There is many ways. How can you enhance your competitiveness?
Imagination.
Imagination, right? Imagination is a kind of goal. What is it? Anybody? You can be more aggressive in telling your idea. Starting from very simple step. How maybe you will think, as I said to you, different circumstance, world environment, and then the world is changing, and then in order to survive, you have to enhance the competitiveness. What should we do? Right? Anybody? Anything? You? No? No idea? Okay. Education. Okay. I wanted to tell you more, based on my experience, more concrete some idea. It's my idea. All right? First one is all right?
Cultural meetings.
Cultural meeting.
We can organize like culture nights.
Cultural night.
Between Turkish culture and Korean culture.
We will do that, definitely. Sometimes I will organize either while I'm after meeting your directors, I instruct the director for cultural affairs to organize cultural night in Ege University. We'll explain about the opportunity of studying in Korea like that. More concrete way as well. Teaching or pushing much pressure on your teachers and professors. Raise as many educations. Actually, Korean system was not so good at that point. When I was the student, we are not allowed it to raise questions because in the class, because Korea was very poor, the students are fully packed. So our teachers, professors, didn't like to respond to questions. But when I was in America, in Germany, and the student raise many questions. Sometimes very simple, sometimes very stupid, but they raise questions. You can make questions maybe instantly, but maybe you will prepare some new idea. So you have to teach your professors as much as possible with many sensitive and stupid and simple questions or the research student. Then in order to do that, you have to prepare, be prepared. That is very important. The other one is to have patience and some investment. How many hours do you study every day? How many hours do you study every day, including class hours? Oh, yes. 10 hours. Good. How about Becky? How about the other one? How many hours do you study? 5. And 5 class hours? How many hours? How many hours do you study every day? Please. The reason, there is some reason why I'm asking you. For me, junior and senior the days, at least 13 or 14 hours, even during vacations. Without investment, you cannot get without pain, without gain, right? So therefore, you have to invest. There is follow the rule of 10,000 hours. Even though every day you are studying 3 hours and the 10 years continues, there is the comment, maybe it's the Bill Gates is the case. Have you heard the Beatles? Because I'm old generation. Beatles is very popular as a music group. Have you heard? They played every year for free, more than 8 hours in Hamburg nightclub. Without investment, you cannot get any result. I'm serious, 13 and 14 hours. Please think of the minimum at these your ages to develop. I believe that is very important. So rather than we are educated just simply to read the books, as many books as possible. But what I did learn is that you have to write down your ideas. Yes. And you should be very faithful in the facts. How many countries are bordered with Turkey? Which countries? How many countries are bordered? 8. Which countries? What I'm saying is that you should be very accurate in the fact. When you write the readings, you miss some point. But when you write something, you'll be very accurate in some writing and checking and the fact about your per capita income, how is the trend like this. So in order to be very comparative, you should write something and then discuss with your colleague on your. Sometimes some people have some conservative, some people have liberal. In our case, before Liberal Party ruled, now it's the before Conservative Party ruled, now it's the Liberal Party. It's a different point. But you are a student, you should be critical to some issues. Any issues, you have to balance the opinion. You have to read and you write and discuss with your friend. And in the process, you can be very competitive. So I said Aziz Ansar, Ban Ki-moon, because on the very harsh condition, they were very successful. And usually I'm saying, in order to be, I hope that I finish the presentation. I'm sorry, too long. And then I wanted to say this word, 주냐 부익 야파자기 시초. Okay. In Korea, when we were very poor in the 1960s and 70s, Korean young businessmen, he went to abroad and he said, he gave us dream And then he gave us future with this simple sentence, Dünya büyük yapacak iş çok. I hope you'd be leaders not only in Istanbul and Izmir, but also in Turkey, in this Europe and the Middle East, Central Asia, and in the world. Maybe sometimes you become very eminent leaders, hopefully remind my word. The dünya büyük yapacak iş çok. Thank you very much. Is there any question?
Firstly, I want to claim about my response about nuclear weapons. We said that this is a small of view. I want to replay about them because we are IR students. We are mostly concentrated to see these countries in terms of politics, in political issues. And in line of nuclear weapons, I want to ask about the relation between South Korea and North Korea. 4 days ago, the North Korea launched the ballistic missile intermediate range. And today, the president of South Korea claimed that is a high possibility of war between two countries. What you can say about this?
He raised the most sensitive issue, the most important assignment for Koreans. Actually, North Koreans, the nuclear issues that started, and started in 1993, almost more than 20 years. Yes.
Excuse me, technically you are in war, no? Until 1953?
No, 1993. 1993, so North Korea started develop nuclear weapons. More than 20 years.
Technically, you are in war, South Korea and North Korea. And these nuclear weapons, the conflict between nuclear weapons between two states, is reflected a high possibility of war. And means the war means the changing of the system. Changing the system is a destruction of the world system, and this affects all of us. And this is the reason I want to know your opinion about this situation. Can go this conflict between North Korea and South Korea in war or not? It was the claim of the president of South Korea 2 hours ago.
Yes.
Today.
Yes, the very sensitive issues that we have to manage. We have to engage North Koreans. Some continuous provocations. Even the United States, China, and some other world communities request them to not to develop the nuclear weapons. They continue for keeping the regime. As you mentioned, on the one hand, there are some liberal parties, the president maybe have the different approach than previous president. So therefore, on the one hand, a very strong action against this kind of development with the cooperation of the international community. International community mainly with the United States and China, sometimes Russia and Japan, but mainly with Turkey, with China and the United States. We will take very strong actions and persuade them not to develop. On the other hand, we will think of the new policy, how to engage, because as I said, just 1 week ago, new administration started. They have to appoint new foreign minister, new minister of the defense like this. In the process, I think keeping the previous administration's policy, strong action, as well as the new approaches, the engagement policy together. But this one, unless North Korea give up their desire to develop, maybe it's very, very difficult. It's not only any regional issues, it's global issues. Mentioned last year, they test 2 times of the nuclear weapons, and 24 times they shoot ballistic missile. This year also 6 times already. So North Korean issues is very strong, very, very sensitive issues. Now Trump administration as well as take the position as South Korea. There is on the one hand, they always keep alert or strong actions. And on the other hand, then they will try to make some dialogue. we don't want any some kind of war in the Korean Peninsula. It's different Syria. The Korea is very heavily dense some the areas within 30 kilometers, million people are living like this. In case they shoot nuclear weapons, maybe not just a few hundred, maybe billion or more than million people are killed. Very serious. So it's too early to say at this moment, but I believe that we keep some two options. There is one is the very strong actions against this kind of development with the cooperation of the world community, mainly China and the United States. And on the other hand, then I expected that there is change in the policy for more engagement.
If you would present today the political issues of Korea and Turkey, how you would present them? South Korea and Turkey, or Korea as a whole?
Usually it's the South Korea and Turkey, because the
topic is Korea and Turkey, past, future, and present.
Because by the constitutions, North Korea is a part of the Korea. All right, we always think if North Korea is argues their legitimacy, we also South Korean government also we argue for our legitimacy because North Korea is a part of South Korea, right? So, anyways, this time mainly I'm talking about our South Korea, Republic of Korea, and the Turkey side. Definitely in the coming years, we want to have some two Korea's relations with Turkey. Some other. To raise question is very, very important. As he mentioned, I cannot respond enough because our policies is in the progress. Sometimes you raise as many questions and then more difficult one. I cannot respond everything, but I understand what you are thinking about. The other, okay?
First, my question is, we have seen some protests in your country and in the last period.
Protest.
Yes, protest. It lasted for days and we know the results. Your ex-president is on trial and how do you evaluate this in the name of your democracy and country's future? Second one is, what is it like to live on a nuclear threat and your nation, South Korea, what do you think about it?
Nuclear.
Also there is a big threat, nuclear threat.
Nuclear threat?
Threat.
A nuclear threat by North Korea.
How your people think about it?
That is also very sensitive. Because we divided from 1945, and then we experienced Korean War from 1950 to 1953. After then, still up to now, from 1953 up now, North Korea still has made many provocations and tried to kill president and tried to avert the infiltrated, make it some underground tunnel. I don't know whether you heard of or not. There are many, they excavate many underground tunnels to invade. So because of that is problems, even though our policymakers are very alert, and then our people, ordinary people, have been used to it. So even though they continue to make any provocations, our people, that is not will happen, the war will not happen. Last years, as I said, they shoot more than 24 times interballistic missile, as well as the medium size and the short range missile. 2 times some the nuclear weapons. Sooner or later, they will develop more sophisticated weapons. And then on the one hand, our policymakers are concerned. Our people don't recognize enough about North Korean some threat. So how to well advertise or will make known that to our people is how to prepare. In my case, actually, as well as I experienced here, and the most serious than the Korean Peninsula. So, unfortunately, not in our citizens, our people, not enough understand some North Korean threat yet. But our policymakers, our militaries, are fully aware of the threat and prepare for that. And then, in the case of Korea, we wanted to not to make some war, and with cooperation our neighboring countries, we continue to every effort that North Korea will not wage any war. The first one is demonstrations. In Korea, many demonstrations are taking place to show their opinion and the leaders some of the opinions. Last 6 months, they expressed very peacefully, without any some kinds of forced power, the might. So therefore, we continue in the democratic society any times, because in Korea we have many problems as well as the high labor cost and some kinds of unemployment is very high, and then so people raise their opinions in many ways. So in the case of 6 months, then because of the misdemeanor of the president, so therefore we had to take up the legal procedures, and then after then she finished some tenures, almost one year earlier. So in Korea, like in any other countries, many demonstrations. In Korea, maybe even I hope maybe even under these administrations, in case some group of people are not satisfied with the policy or section. Actually, inside National Assembly, like in Turkey, some debate is going on, opposition party and the ruling party. There is the very popular features in Korea. Okay.
Thank you for your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And what does the existence of Turkey and Turkish people or Korean people? What is our importance for you?
Importance?
Importance. As a nation or as a country?
No, as I said, Korea is very active in the cooperating with other countries. Otherwise, we cannot survive. As I said, Korea is very small, and then the small land, and then we cannot process everything. But we developed our technology. So I'm saying the Korean people and the Korean businessmen, Turkey is very young society. US on the average, the age is 30 years old. Korea is 41.7 years. So, and 80 million citizens, very strong demand. And the new generations, high demand. Had to be in this line is very strong potential, as well located in the center of among the Europe, Central Asia, and the Middle East. And also you have very good networking. So this line for Korean businessmen, even last year, on the very harsh conditions, almost no, maybe one or two, so no Korean companies move out of their country. All of them stayed. Whenever I talk to them, they look at not only current situation, but also future. So therefore, Turkey is very important, as well as culturally. Cultural aspect is very important to link our two people. So I think in several aspects, definitely for Korea, for neighboring countries, the most important. We cannot deny China, Japan, Russia, and the United States, very important. And also Southeast Asia, very good the market for us. And Turkey is not only economically, but culturally, historically, very important partner. So I'm happy to serve as ambassador, because to be appointed as ambassador in Turkey is very competitive. Even though the president and the minister they appoint, I'm very happy to come here. One of the most important some jobs as ambassador.
First of all, I would like to point out that we're so happy to see you here. And welcome to our university. Actually, my question will be much more different than my friends. I have two questions. One of them is about technology, and second one is about protectionism. Of course, your country is one of the most important countries in terms of technology, but there are a lot of countries that have no ability to produce new kind of technology. According to you, what kind of steps should they follow? And my second question is about protectionism. As everybody knows here, we experienced global economic crisis in 2008, and we all said, okay, we are against protectionism. But it's a controversial issue nowadays. To give an illustration of what I mean, I just want to take a closer look at last year's discussions made by different countries. They all said, okay, we promised to avoid all forms of protectionism, but since then Donald Trump has taken office and he is aggressive in pursuing American first policy. And according to surveys carried out by some institutions, the United States of America, Russia and India are the most protectionist countries. And do you think that it's possible to make globalization real without US, Russia and India? If your answer is no, what should we do in this situation to make trade more wealthy for us? Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Very good questions. First, what to do for technology enhancement from the perspective of Turkey. I don't want to say some big slogan. What I'm talking about, the chairman and the vice chairman, you have to make more concrete steps. One step forward. What I mean is that you identify some field of some technology what you need, and you send delegation or businessmen to any countries where you want to send. Not just confined to Korea. Maybe you can send some Singapore, Switzerland, Japan, any countries. We have to more concrete step. Most cases, maybe we make some slogans. But I wanted to, in order to proceed, in our case, when we need some information and the technology or more advanced strategy, we send many delegations to many countries to learn from them that there are some mistake and the success story. But what I observed, what I'm saying is the inward looking means that stay and ask others to come and to explain. I think I told them, then you have to change your attitude, more outward. I think it's your responsibility. Not just you cannot go to any countries, but through the internet, through some other method, you can find out some more effectively. And the second one is to your businessmen, more challenging, making more your brand. What I'm saying is the Korean Hyundai car in the 1970s, one of the Chevy, very, very poor cars, but for continuous investment for more than 30 years, one of the best car in the world. Any place I'm using Korean car. As I said, a very simple question, because in case I raise the case of the nuclear, the reactors like this, very heavy investment. I'm in front of your businessman. I brought 4 different kinds of your brand, the toothpaste with the Korean one. I compared. What should we do? You have to take some actions for investment, consumer goods. For example, you see Russia. Russia technology is well developed in the field of satellite, nuclear weapons, and then you see Russians, there is some limitation in consumer goods. Consumer goods is very important for the prosperity of your people. So even small technology, more aggressive. So the role of the private sector is very important. My observation is that private sector is more oriented to get government sponsor, the government subsidy. No, you shouldn't. You have to develop your own brand. For example, high-speed train. You are importing from the Spain, Germany, like this. I'm saying that you have to develop, you make your own brand. We did. We first import something from Germany and from the from the France import some technology, small fragment technology. They don't give us any full information. Very reluctant. We developed and then we spend much. Otherwise, maybe now and 20 years, 30 years later, you have to import some brand. You will use the Sensodyne and then what is the signal light from the other country's brand. So in this sense, some attitude by your private sector to develop your own brand with cooperation with some country. Korea is one of the good partners. Why? In the case of other developed countries, they develop technology more than 200, 100 years, all those times. But Korea started from nothing. So we have some expertise who are living now. So therefore, Korea have very special feeling. But you have to understand, businessman is businessman for profit. They are not humanitarian approach. They have to cooperate. That is the one thing. The second one is protectionism. America first. What is that? That American job, American product first. Every country, in the case, maybe we faced very difficult position. Even though President Trump continued to say, and then maybe he will also face some difficulties because the country now is already fully interlinked. Maybe some hesitance, but I cannot provide a full answer because the United States or some other country continue to say because to hire more domestic employees. In our case, frankly speaking, that many Korean companies are investing here, but the more they invest here, the less they invest in Korea. So now we also face our young generation face some unemployment. I'm saying to Korea that Korean companies to invest more inside Korea, but in case they have to invest abroad, I'm asking to come to Turkey because Turkey is a young society, 80 million people, and they are very demanding for new products. So I cannot fully respond to protectionism, but always there is protectionism and liberalism are competing. Hopefully in case I cannot believe that the protectionism prevails every issues. Hopefully liberal or some creative exchange is prevailing in the coming years. Okay, I'm sorry to occupy too much time.